we can revisit that in 2025. It might be legal for H1.
Welcome to the Blind Apex Podcast, where amateur club racers tune in to get faster.
This episode is brought to you by Deechworks Fuel Systems. Find all your fuel system needs at deechworks.com. At this point, the OG Racing giveaway is concluded. I do a lot to promote the podcast, help the community. If you want to help the podcast here, share the podcast with friends, give it a 5-star rating, write a review, do whatever you want to do. Anyway, I'm your host, Con Canturk. Con John Turk to the people who really know me. On this episode of the Blind Apex Podcast, we're going to talk about the details, the things that people overlook in their suspension, not the sexy stuff about your suspension, maybe things that people might blindly follow generic install instructions when they get their suspension parts. We're going to talk droop, helper springs, and bump stops. And since I know just enough to be dangerous, and I need, to address droop on my car, so I might as well get actually educated on this. I guess I need to apologize to my guest. She's gotten tagged at least 30 times in the last giveaway. I was pretty sure she was going to bail on me, but she stuck it out. She really wants to help the community. Queen of the Northeast Honda Challenge family, driving coach, mastermind of Low Book Motorsports, suspension guru, Jackie Andrews. Welcome back to the podcast. Yeah, I need one of those. I need a button. Jaime, help me figure out how to get buttons on this setup. But
we got to get you one of those soundboards.
Yeah, I need a soundboard and a whole bunch of other stuff, I guess. But I finally got real headphones so I can hear. So.
Okay. Well, come on, Patreon members.
Oh, I don't have any of that
soundboard. What kind of podcast person are you? You don't have a Patreon?
The only thing I ask for is people
pay for this stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Who wants to pay for this podcast? Come on now. I mean, when you're here, maybe, but in general, let's not oversell the podcast here.
Well, it's good to be back. It's been a while since I've been on yours or anybody's podcast, including my own. So it's nice to be back behind the mic.
Yes, the Jackie's Corner podcast. Subscribe. Just do the automatic. Put the automatic notification so when she does her once a quarter update, you get it. And
you might get one in 2025 when I finish the new car.
Okay,
if you're lucky.
That's fair. Segue alert. Let's catch up with you in your new car. What's going on? Maybe people don't know that you have a new car.
I got a new car. And you know what? People don't. I was at the track last weekend and people were asking me about my car and why I wasn't driving. Like, my car's broken. I need a new one. So short story is the EG is no longer, in case you didn't know. I found a crack in the frame rail where the subframe bolts to it in the front. And then when we took it apart, we found a whole lot more wrong with it. So in keeping with giant air quotes here, making things easy, I stayed with Golden Era Cars and I got an EK hatch that was a complete car for a very good price. I took the B series out, gave it back to the owner, and I have a little bit of fab work I need to do, door bars and harness bar, and add some anti-intrusion bars and a footwell, and then build a new car. Because now's the time to do everything that I wanted to do and wasn't going to do to the other car.
So, okay, so you're going to bring the K-swap over. Kill Me K-swap is the heart is being transplanted into something else.
No. Yes, but no. Yes, it's going to be a K-series, but not the K-series that I was running.
Okay. What are you building a fancy ST4 motor or
12.5 to 1 piston rod, K24 Frank, big manifold cams.
So fancy. So fancy. So that
It
no more
sounds fancy.
lazy H1 life.
Well, we can revisit that in 2025. It might be legal for H1.
Spoiler alert. The rules
Yeah.
committee.
The rules committee, aka Jackie, is the only one who cares about H1 still. That's a whole nother conversation for later. But yeah, I needed power for SD4, and compression in cams is the way to go. So that's what's happening. But the new car is going to be new ECU, new wiring harness. I bought a new subframe because my old one was just old and I found a crack in it. The only thing I'm going to carry over is the shocks, the brakes, and the transmission.
Okay.
Yeah,
Not even the seat?
I bought one of these.
Oh, she's fancy, y'all. She's holding up. Was that an MXL?
Yeah, MXL2.
Oh, even fancier.
Yeah. And I wasn't going to do that, but the car had an MXL2 in it, and the mount is like welded in. So I would have had to cut it out and then change the physical dash because the tabs for the cluster are gone.
Mm-hmm.
Which I have. I'm like, you know what? I'll just do this. And then it slippery sloped into, well, if I get a better ECU, I can just plug it right in. La-di-da.
That's fair.
So, yeah. I will probably keep my seat. However, because now I have enough room, I think, for a containment seat, I might get one. The only reason I didn't have one before is I physically couldn't fit it in the car.
I don't know, because mine was super close to in the coupe. In the EM1, it was super close to the door. I don't know. What model are you looking for?
Oh, I haven't even looked yet. I'd probably get another Kirky because I'd like to piss people off with my aluminum seats.
Oh, well, I talked to Mike about that. It fits in his coupe. It fits better than my OMP would. So,
yeah, I notched the floor in the other car to get the seat over more, and it gave me a bunch of room. So, if I have to do that, I can. I don't want to, but we'll see.
Okay. So, you mentioned carrying over your suspension.
Yep.
And it's going from is it going from the EG to an EK, you said?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I know you're a Droop person. Can you explain what it is? It has to do with the suspension, and then maybe how you're going to measure it for the new car?
I can do that. So Droop is what it sounds like. It's the droop in the shock, right? So how you would measure it is go from your static ride height with the car sitting on the ground and then jack it up. Jack up like an entire axle, not one side or the other, unless you unhook all the sway bars. And then measure that distance, and then that'll give you your droop. There's a lot of different preferences as far as how much. I like to have as much as possible, but realistically, like if I can get like 2-3 inches at the damper, I'm happy. If I have to run less, I will. I think I ran less in the front of the EG. I'd have to go back and look at the notes. Just the way things kind of laid out. But droop is super important in every chassis because you need that travel when the car is loaded laterally for that inside unloaded tire to have somewhere to go so it stays connected.
Yeah, 1% of tire contact patches better than 0. And
yeah, and like if you don't have, let's say you have no droop at all, which people set their cars up, it's not that the tire is going to come off the ground, right? You're not just going to be cornering on 2 tires, but you're going to run to the end of the shock and shock that side of the suspension. And it's unloaded, but it still does affect everything else. So that's why you need some droop.
Okay. So I guess you explained why we need it. And you say we need as much of it as we can get. I say in the front wheel drive world, to me, we're always looking to get as much as we can out back because we're always doglegging. I feel like the BMW kids and the Porsche kids, all the guys who lift the front, I think they may, or I don't think they care. I think they like those pictures where they pick their tires up. I mean, we do too. So but it's to always keep things in contact. Like you said, not shock the system of, bottoming out shocks. I guess, is it bottoming out when they're fully extended or topping out?
It's the same theory. Yeah, you could call it a top out.
Yeah. So, and sort of keep it in its zone. But yeah, we want to increase it, but some people can't do it that easily, right? So what are you running and how are you increasing it?
So, before we get into that, I just want to touch on that picking up tires situation.
Yeah.
A lot of times that has less to do with droop than we think, and more to do with either a really big sway bar or a really soft spring on the other end of the car, or both. BMWs love to do that. Porsches love to do that, where they hang front tires all over the place. And a lot of times it's Mustangs do it too. Some of the stick axle Mustangs do it too. And a lot of times, more than anything else, it's a soft, in this case, rear spring and a good sized front bar. And that's just what happens. They just are on the bar so hard that the bar is keeping the tire up. And the rear spring's so soft that the chassis is leaning on that, whichever rear spring you are when you're turning. And it just holds the tire up. That doesn't mean that you still shouldn't dial in some droop into your setup. Just saying. But getting into how to do that, you need two things. Number one, you need a damper that physically has enough stroke to do it. If the damper doesn't have any stroke to it, and if you're sitting at static ride height, there's only, let's say, an inch at the shock of droop left. That's it. You're not going to be able to add any more, really. And then, so if you've got enough in the shock body and the shaft and how it's all engineered to work, and you have enough to do it, a helper spring, a tender spring, that's going to give you some droop. Trying to think of the best way to explain that. I mean, well, I guess I could explain what those two springs are, and that would pretty much explain it. So you've got your main spring, whatever spring rate you run, whatever height it is, and you'll see it on high-end stuff. Fields will have them even. Maybe some Fortune Autos, I think they do, where you'll see a secondary spring, either on the top or the bottom of the main spring, and it's really small in winding and in height. The spring may be 3 inches high. The spring rate is probably like 25, 50 pounds. If it's a helper, if it's a tender, it's more. Tenders are like 150 pounds. Different applications, same basic theory for this conversation. But if you think about it, right, so you've got a helper spring that's 3 inches tall. If you can set your car up so at full droop, that spring is completely slack. There's no real tension on it. And then when you set the car down, because it's a light spring rate, that spring is completely compressed. You've got, if that spring is 3 inches long, you have 3 inches of droop on the shock right there.
I know some people tell me I just need to go wind down my shock because my shock lower mount is adjustable. Does that work?
No.
No? Okay. I didn't think it was going to. The math didn't really work to. It may give me more travel or
That's
length
good for
of
travel, or if you were running out of compression travel, you could gain some back because instead of moving the spring perch, you would move the lower shock perch up and down and use that to adjust your ride height, and then you keep the free length of your spring wherever it is. But that's not going to add you any droop travel.
Okay. Yeah. Excuse me. I feel like it's a misconception people have is that it.
Yeah.
I adjust this and I gain more droop. So
the only way that would gain you droop is if your setup was wrong and you were compressed a bunch on your mainspring.
Mm-hmm.
And you like unwound it and redid everything. So that was less of a thing. But you're still not going to get, the type of droop that we're talking about.
Okay. Yeah. I don't want people to get confused because people, the internet says lots of different things. Let's put it that way. So, and it doesn't
yes, it does.
Okay. So let's talk me through how to, okay. So I want to cover something too that the internet said, at least to me, it came in a reel and it came from a circle track racer. And then, who it is. And then I want to talk about, I have springs on my car. Everything seems to work. I need droop in my car because I can barely remove my rear tire while the car is jacked up.
Ooh.
Okay. So you jack my car all the way up and my 17 barely comes out. And you got to finagle it a little bit. So I need ride height help, but it also needs droop help. So, yeah. If I have a spring... Yeah, I don't have Penske's. I might have motion controls, but I don't have Penske stuff. I don't have that rich people stuff. Anyway.
Excuse me.
So, talk me through. I have a current setup. Say I have like a 5-inch spring in the rear and I have a 6-inch spring in the front and I want to add droop. How do I take into consideration the size of springs I have now versus where my shock collars are located, and then going to a helper, and maybe I need to shrink springs or whatever.
Oof.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. Let's see. Well,
throwing the curveballs tonight.
Yeah. Sometimes what you're asking to do isn't physically possible because you don't have enough shock stroke. So what you'd have to figure out, if you have, like you were saying, you have an adjustable lower perch, right? Can you come up with a combination of moving the lower perch around, maybe going to a shorter mainspring and then adding a helper? You're gonna lose bump travel anyway if you do that. But do you have the room to do so? Because adding that spring is going to take up space regardless. And
right.
If you don't, if it's not at full droop with a spring rattling around currently, you're going to have a compromise.
Yeah, even the flat helper springs, when you compress them all the way, they're still taking up 1.5 inch minimum, I would think.
Yeah. It depends on like what height of spacer you get to go in between the two of them. Because I have some that are thicker and some that are thinner, but it's something that needs to be engineered into the damper when they build it, and to add it's tough. You may be able to do it, but like I said, you're gonna lose somewhere, and generally, if you're trying to add droop, you're gonna lose compression travel. If you have some to spare, you may be able to do something with it, but
okay, that's good to note that you generally will lose a little compression when you start adding bump. So All right. Speaking of bump.
Stops.
Yeah, let's talk about bump stops because I know we still have rules, and then I'm questioning if we still have rules on bump stops because I haven't read that section in forever because I basically read it, cut mine to length, and put them in there.
Fair enough.
Well, let's talk about bump stops. I guess, what are they? People know what they are, but they don't always know why they're in there. Like, I literally was like, the rule says 2 inches. Cut. Slammed it in there and walked away. So explain to me what I just did. And then I guess why we need, or when do we need them, and how do we tune with them? Because I know the autocross kids, they're big bump stop nerds. So
Yeah, autocross people tune with bump stops because they run the car too low and it sits on them. That's the reality. So the bump stop is whatever material it's made out of. It could be rubber, could be like a neoprene or whatever. Foam, different rates of foam. We'll get into that. Different durometers of material. But it goes on the shock shaft. Doesn't matter where you put it because it's always going to end up at the top. And it keeps the original intention is to keep the damper from crashing into itself internally. So you don't want it at full compression. You don't want the stack to smash into the top of the shock body, essentially. There's more to it than that, but that keeps it simple. For example, if you bought a set of JRZs and it wouldn't come with bump stops, and if you called the engineer and asked about it, you don't need it because they engineer the shock for, let's say, for a golden era car. Mm-hmm. They engineer it in a way where the tire is going to hit the wheel well before the shock bottoms out. So in that case, to protect the damper, you don't need it. Now, what has happened over the years is we found a way to use them as a tuning tool. So you can run different, and this is nothing to do with rules. This is just what you can do. You can run them at different, essentially, spring rates. And
they're definitely that way because if you search and you go down the rabbit hole, you will find the website that has them listed by, in quotation marks, spring rate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And you can stack them and make them like progressive rates and whatnot, different lengths, and you can use them to essentially, in the bottom of the top, I would say, of the compression stroke, you start basically, now you're adding spring rate to slow the roll down in the chassis, but not shock it where it's just bottoming out and hitting something. And there's lots to do as far as tuning a bump stop, especially if you're driving something that uses them often. Mm-hmm. You can do a lot. You can change how the car drives just by tuning bump stops.
Yeah. I went down a rabbit hole with the EM1 because of the rules, because of I was on Coney ground controls at the time. And so I was like, OG style. I mean, they were double adjustable, but still Coney ground control.
Sure.
Yeah. And so they provided some, and they didn't seem to survive maybe 1 year. And they just looked like they were disintegrating. I think they were on the foam level you were talking about, right?
Yep.
And so I started digging through the internet like normal, and then I found that website with them at spring rates, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is over my head. I just need something to stop the Coney from bottoming out, basically. So I basically picked a spring rate that I thought may stop it, and then cut it to is it maximum length? I cut it to the maximum length and then threw them in. Maximum length.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you remember what spring rate you picked?
I think it was like a 600-pound bump stop.
Okay.
because I figured it would, after it got past the spring, if it needed a little extra, 600 was plenty. So,
Okay.
I mean, when most of them are like in 100 to 250 pound range, like,
yeah, that's my face says that's a lot of spring rate.
I know, but it was way up in there. So,
oh yeah, it's way up in there.
Yeah. So this sort of comes, I want to come back to the helper springs kind of thing, because I saw this circle track guy. He works at a shop. He's pretty well known, even though I don't know his name off the top of my head. And they do a lot of like late model circle track stuff, super late models, stuff like that. And he's like, I bet you didn't know if you take this spring and stack it on top of this spring, you actually get less spring rate.
I saw that video.
And I was like,
I was screaming at my phone.
Okay. All right. So you saw that.
Oh, yeah. All the same guy.
He's super famous. He's super well known in the circle track world. And I was like, I'm trying to make it compute. Are you saying it's less spring rate than the heaviest spring that you put on there? I might buy it, but eventually you're going to get to the heaviest spring rate.
No.
You won't?
No.
Why not?
Watch the video again. He even gives you the formula, and you can do the math. He also puts it on the spring compressor, like the spring rate checker machine, and shows you.
Okay.
If you stack like whatever he stacked, a 600 and a 400 or something,
Okay.
and it becomes, I don't know. But yeah, that's also like, the dual spring rate thing is so hard to set up, right? And like make work. Circle track guys probably have it figured out. Road race people have been screwing it up for years.
Right. But we're talking about helper springs and bump stops. And nobody else will see your face. But when I said 600-pound spring, your face was like questioning my sanity. So
it's quite a bit.
It's uneducated me. Like, that's what I did. So folks, don't do that, because Jackie, she didn't say don't do it, but her face said don't do it. So, but how would the helper spring, they're like 150-pound helper springs. They're stacked on top of the other spring. How is it not messing with your spring rates if it's true? So
what you're talking about and what he was talking about, similar theories, different practice. Okay. So you're talking about a spring that will be fully compressed with the car sitting at ride height. It no longer is part of the equation as far as total spring rate.
Okay.
And that's a helper that's, 25, 50 pounds. So you put the car on the ground, it's compressed. You could kind of play a little bit of that when you start getting back into the droop side of things, but the reality is it's fully compressed with the car sitting on the ground. He's talking more about two springs that will not be fully compressed, either one of them sitting at static ride height.
Okay.
And now you're combining the two rates. So like, for instance, on our cars at 600 and 400.
Right.
You're not compressing those with the car sitting on the ground. So now you have to do math to figure out what rate you've actually got.
Okay. All right. That makes sense to me now. I will go. I didn't watch the whole video. I was like, what is this guy spewing? And I was like, swipe. But
so V8 supercar, which I think is now just an Australian supercar.
These guys up here?
Yes. I can barely see it, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I think 2 years ago, they put in their rule set single spring only, and they could probably run like a helper or something like that. They had been doing the dual mainspring thing for so long, but it's so hard to figure out that it was essentially like taking performance away from teams because they were just so focused on trying to figure this dual spring thing out because everybody's doing it, so we have to do it. And it worked. They took it away, and kind of basement teams immediately picked up because now it's real easy. One spring.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense. And you mentioned it, but I don't want to gloss over the fact that you can't just slam your helper in there. There has to be like an adapter.
Yes.
Because you need to capture both, or you're going to be an idiot like me, because I tried to run helpers because I thought it was cool one time and no adapter, and it just spun its way down my mainspring. Mind you, that was loading the car, not even racing it.
No.
Just the vibration of the car spun it down.
Yeah.
And so by the time I got to the track, I was pulling my rear off and the top hats off and unscrewing the helper spring, and I was like, I don't need these. And then I spun the thing back up, set my ride height, let her eat.
Okay.
So,
lesson learned. That's all. Lesson learned.
Yeah. We all make mistakes. I mean, I literally...
That's how we learn.
I was on the wrong spring rate anyway. Just, it was out of control back then. My first season with the EM1 was a hot mess. Sort of like
Sounds
my
like
first season with the FG2 also, but...
At least that's you have an excuse. That's a new car.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's hard. I listen to people. I listened to everybody back in the day, or I would ask one person and they would be like, do this. So I would do it instead of getting a consensus or getting educated. So my first year in racing, I was like, okay, not everybody's going to tell you the whole truth. Some of them will tell you zero truth, and some people will get you to 90% to get you to like think you're the rest of the 10% there. And that's what I hope I'm doing. So we'll never explain everything perfectly to everybody. So if we can get you 90% of the way there and you're looking at it and you can figure the other 10% out, well, you're done. Right. So that's what I'm hoping for. That's how I try to operate anyway. But yeah, it was a little bit of a mess back then. But anyway, yeah. So that's kind of the simple how-to or why we do these things. To be honest, people either don't know what they are, because that was me, or if I'm not going to name names. I promised myself I wasn't going to name names. I have seen, we'll just preface some things weirdly and maybe I won't snitch on people. I've seen instructions that were like, measure your car at the stock shock length and adjust your coil over to suit the body length. So like, you know, even on my car, the bottom mount, you can loosen it and make it longer or shorter. Mm-hmm. They're like, take it out and make that shock body match your stock shock body and then carry on. And I'm like, well,
no,
maybe,
but there's an easier way with a better instruction.
Yeah. So there's generic instructions out there. There's poor explanations on the internet. There's out and out wrong explanations on the internet about things. And you'll kind of find out what is wrong when you do it. And you're like, this was supposed to work and it's not working at all. Like it got worse, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a big issue for me out there. In the new car world, they're all
right.
Man,
conflicting opinions everywhere.
There is no conflicting opinion on my new chassis, except for me and like one other person. So,
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, if it weren't for you and Darren, I probably wouldn't have gone the direction I did. So I tried it and it works.
Soft there.
I mean, Yes. Yes and no. I think I want to. So Bradfield now is building his own bar. Did you see that he got a 120 bar
Mm-hmm.
and he's building his own end pieces? I think I'm going to try that also because
Is that bar not available for your car?
it is, but it's a
Like,
special order item from ASR,
gotcha.
and as cheap as he said he got all the parts for, it's just
Mm-hmm.
easier for me to at least test a 120 by like burning it together, throwing the end links on. I have a bar to measure. I don't even have to. It's not that hard, right? So, weld it
No.
together and
If
then
you need something different, you can order one.
right. And
What's
then
on
if
your car?
the 095 ASR hollow bar,
Oh, then why don't you just buy a 120 bar and slide it in?
because it's special order. I don't know if
The
it'll get here
120
in time.
wall?
Uh-huh.
Are you serious? Do you want to borrow mine?
My car's too thick. She's wide. She's the wide load car. She's too long for that. Trust me, I've checked every speedway bar, all that stuff. Like I've searched the ends of the internet for it, and Ryan found a way. So
Add extensions.
yeah, basically. But we'll see. But I know I need to look into Droop for my car. I know I need to look at the bump stops. I have a divorce spring set up in the back, so I'm actually going to go to a bigger spring, and hopefully I don't need a helper. So we'll see. It likes to unseat itself sometimes.
Put the helper in. Were you not listening at all? Jeez, Con.
I would, but it's so... The divorce setup is so small.
It's compact.
It's really compact. I don't know if I can find so that's the thing. I'm almost out of travel in the collar. And so,
okay.
Like going up. So I know I know I have plenty of room to go down. Yeah. On the collar. And so,
what if you weren't divorced in the rear?
Then I would be breaking the rules, Jackie.
Well, besides that, I'm not talking about rules. I'm talking about chassis setup. First of all, is there even room to do that in the back of that car?
I don't know. I haven't measured yet.
Oh my God. Okay. Well,
there's a lot of measuring that goes on when you're dealing with helper springs.
I would need to measure and see if it'll work.
Bump stops, and even your droop. You're going to have tape measures out. You're going to have squares out. You're going to have gigantic rulers out, yardsticks. I have every implement of measuring when I start messing with this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Just
because I want it. It's got to fit right because it's got to be at the correct angles, and I level my car before I do any of this stuff. I level the whole car in my garage.
That's how you're supposed to do it.
Well, somebody write that down, because I know people who are like, they just jack it up and they're like, measure, slam it back down. And I'm like, wait a minute. Level the car, cycle rates. We do everything. Sometimes I forget to measure everything because there's so much we could be measuring, like Droop, like if I need helper springs. I'm like, I need helper springs. And then I just drop the car on the ground and go, we'll worry about that later. When I could have measured right there when it was level. Now I have to re-level my car and do everything over again. Not necessarily for the helper springs, but for Droop and stuff.
How tall is your mainspring in the rear? Is it like 5 inches or less?
Yeah, it's like a 4 or 5 inch spring.
Yeah. You may be able to do it, but you've got to see if you've got enough room at full Droop to do it.
Yeah, I need to disconnect everything to even see if the shock is the limiting factor.
Right. Or the suspension travel.
Yeah. And
physical arms and such. Yeah.
right. In the front, it's the arms because that front compliance bushing that's flat and trapped in the subframe.
It tips and hits the control arm, and that's it. It's done.
Yeah. There's almost no movement up front. It ruins life. That's a terrible design. Honda, I don't like you for that. But yes.
Well, Common McPherson, they're all like that. They all have some lollipop bushing that limits articulation unless you put a spherical in it. And even still, it's only going to go so far.
Yeah, it only goes so far. I have a spherical in there. It only goes so far. But these are things we have to take into consideration, especially when dealing with Droop, is what are your limitations? You know, is your limitation in the arm? Is it in... I don't think there's a rule about shaving some of the metal off of my subframe to get my arm to droop if it will go past what the bushing would let me do anyway, the spherical would let me do. But there's a lot of things that we have to pay attention to for these. I say little details. They're actually pretty important in the grand scheme of things. So,
yeah.
But we are a little early, and you started talking about H1 rules and stuff. And will you snitch on the air?
I'll snitch. I'm not going to fully snitch because I can't actually fully snitch, but I can snitch a little bit.
Okay. Are we going to talk about all H1 rules, or are we talking about all Honda Challenge rules, or just H1? Are you going to make me sit and stew for H2?
Well, I mean, spoiler alert, nothing big's going to happen for H2 again.
Never is.
There just isn't really, in general, big, broad statement of in general. There really isn't a lot that we need to do. The formula kind of works. I'm sure there's always some little stuff, some cleanup here and this and that, but nothing giant, nothing that's going to make or break a car, a chassis, or anything like that. H1 wise, I'm working on an H1 rewrite that I think is going to be pretty appealing to people. Kind of across the board.
Are you going to set the internet on fire though by like turning everything red and then doing one big blue section? A fresh blue section? Is it that?
I mean, I don't know because that part of the rules, as far as how it gets physically inputted, is not my job. I mean, if it was me, I would literally just highlight and delete everything that's there and then reinstall what my plan is and just done. But it's going to be good. It's going to be a lot easier to class cars moving forward for H1.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any of that stuff's really going to trickle down to H2. It could. I don't think it needs to. Like I said, I think H2 as a general formula works well. I'm sure you think the 8th gen needs like 35 more horsepower and 200 pounds less weight, but it's fine. But H1 has needed some help over the years, and after driving in it and then driving other places, I'm like, oh, these rules are bad. We need to make some changes. So we might also have a new tire for next year, but we literally do not know. I'm not holding out on you there. NASA National hasn't told us anything, so we do not know.
Baby Jesus, please. You got to get over this. Just set it on fire and move forward. I can't.
I can't do it.
No, I'm not talking to you. I'm telling Nationals.
Jeremy Crissette, if you're listening, because we know you're a listener, make a decision on a tire, please, so we can all start buying tires ahead of time. Me included.
I mean, my tire size is funkier than most. It's not a spec tire size, so if and when they come in, I need them. and I need
Mhm.
some to go testing. I don't know if I'm going to have to, God forbid, I need to make a spring rate change, right? We
Yep.
don't know
Yep.
yet. And
we have so many options on tires right now. Like, we could stay on the RR, which, okay, everyone knows, fine, right? However, that tire is going to get phased out. So either they're going to stop making it or they're making limited runs.
Yep.
I'm hearing both. I'm hearing more on a limited run thing. But if it's going to be limited runs and limited sizes, which sizes are they going to make, and which sizes are they going to make once a year, which is probably 15s. If we go to the R, it has to be available for everybody. They could go maxes, because that's a thing in NASA now, so they could throw us a curveball and we go to maxes. I don't know. I do not know what's going to happen.
In the Mid-Atlantic, we contemplated. It's usually over adult beverages on a Saturday night. It's been pre-vid. We wanted to do all Hoosier class. We were just, as a region, going to go to Hoosiers.
Welcome to the original insight of Honda Challenge.
Right. No. Yeah, that's literally, I was like, hey, that's not a new idea, but okay.
It's an awful idea.
Well, they just wanted more beta tire. That's what we want.
Why? Why do you want a better tire as a group? Because if everybody's on a better tire, the only thing you did was increase the running cost of the class because the Hoosier's more expensive. And essentially, everyone just gets a little bit quicker.
Well,
not change anything.
Okay. So that's not all that it is. Everyone gets a little quicker is not a bad thing because of the dichotomy of our group and the group that we race with. So we're not out there by ourselves. We have the ST5 cars are out there. And I don't even want to talk about ST5 because I think H2 cars are like ST4.5. We're like everything an ST4 car is without the right power to weight. And then the jump between 4 and 5 is so weird. But the BRZs with Hoosiers or whatever, in their crazy ABS systems, they're monsters on track. And we run with that ST5. It's basically spec BRZ, let's be honest. They're either K-swapped or going to a new gen BRZ. But and I'm trying to get people on to talk about it, but we'll see. We'll see. They may pitch a fit and not want to do it. But it's the jump between ST5 and ST4 is so big in the rules that we needed something to help speed the back of our group up because they were getting in the middle of the ST5 race off the green flag, essentially. Mm-hmm. So, and the only other option is to either put Honda Challenge all the way in the back, which would be a terrible idea. We'd ruin every single race for the Miatas, the E30s, all of them. Probably twice in the thing because we'd come through on lap 1 or 2 and then we'd eat the back of the pack before the race was over again. Or you do it to ST5 and they'll have the same repercussion. So some sort of change between the dichotomy of the ST5 and in the Honda Challenge group is usually where it comes from, I think.
Well,
mixed class racing problems.
Yes. That theory then of switching to a Hoosier is contingent on the fact that you're all going to go, 2 seconds faster on a Hoosier? Is that what everybody's thinking?
Yeah, like another 1 or 2 seconds. Yeah, maybe.
Do you think that's going to happen?
No, because we need...
Because it should, right?
It should, but we're all going to need car development, is my understanding. Is you switch tires, some development needs to happen because the SCCA guys are on Hoosiers and they don't run the same way we run. So,
yes, there's a lot we'll discuss off the pod. I've got lots of data on both tires at multiple weights.
Mm-hmm.
There's some interesting findings, I would say. Also, if we go to the R is 9/10 there to a Hoosier R7.
Right.
So,
that's why I'm like, just get off the pot and let's just go.
But at that point, you're increasing corner speed. And I can tell you, if you run a Hoosier, it might not be the right height. But all you're doing is increasing corner speed, which is not necessarily going to make things easier because you're not passing people in the corners. You're passing people in straightaways. So, like, if we gave you the same power, but we gave you a Hoosier in the same size and more aero, you'd still have a horribly frustrating race. Because you'd drive almost around the outside of them in the corner, and then they'd motor you in a straightaway. I'm like, well, this still sucks.
Yeah, but if I get corner speed, I get more speed down at the end of the straightaway too.
Oh, sure, but an ST5 car is going to motor
you. They usually don't.
In theory. I don't know about the BRZs, but like we have like E36s that run in ST5, so they have torque, and they're out. The BRZs by us, they're quick, but I've noticed they don't really have any torque, which is kind of funny if they're on a stock motor.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, I understand your complaint. The Toyo R will give you what you're looking for. I just don't know that what you're looking for is the actual answer to your problem.
Okay, so like you said, I'll take that 30 horsepower and minus 200 pounds, and I'll be good.
There you go.
See?
Yeah. So come to H1 like we've been telling you forever.
No.
Put a K24 in that thing and let's party.
No way. I don't want to put a K24 in it. I love revving to 9,000 RPMs. Get out of here.
Jeez, I don't rev that high.
Well,
I'm scared.
Don't be scared. It's okay.
I'm scared.
Some little guy made this engine just for you. Some little guy or gal made it just for you. Hand built K motors just for you.
And mine's an R.
Yeah, see? That's the even more hand built. Send it to the moon. Just keep going.
Didn't make any power. 8,700 was plenty.
See, mine. Well, I'm detuned, so I can make it as long as she stays together. But anyway.
Yeah.
All right. We'll stop boring people with that chit chat and log off the podcast so I can hear about the juicy stuff that we're not going to say on the air.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for coming on. Not having me. Thanks for coming on, Jackie. I really appreciate explaining these simple but not so simple details we need in our suspension.
You're welcome.
Until next time, keep working on yourself, keep working on the car, and let's get faster.